wrestling, comics, 90s cartoons, movies, TV series. Hi, I'm Jonathan Esther, and I'd like to invite you to listen to my brother Slow Chemical's brand new podcast, I See Things a Little Differently, a follow-up to his excellent Why Repent, I'ma Do It Again. In it, Slow Chemical brings his natural acerbic wit and knowledge as a content creator, an artist, and a general bon vivant to looking at intricate niches and corners of our pop culture and dissecting it in his unique and infallible way. Or fallible, depending on how you take it. Either way, this excellent podcast will have you revisiting things that you haven't seen in a while, looking at things that you've seen differently, and giving you interesting and fascinating views from in and outside of pop culture. If you love blunt honesty, frank discussion, and just a good time, tune in to my brother's podcast. I See Things a Little Differently now, wherever your pods are cast.
Hello there, everybody. I'm Ross Pitt, Shark Hunter, welcoming you all to Ross and Wizzy's Fanfiction Power Hour. Oh my goodness, Wizzy Puff.
Ross Pitt?
What are you doing here?
Well, I'm just here to record the Wizzy Puff Fanfiction Power Hour.
Well, that's crazy. I was recording the Ross and Wizzy's Fanfiction Power Hour. That's completely wild.
I guess the Wizzy part now makes sense that I'm in it.
Yeah, but well, yours doesn't make sense. Why is it just the Wizzy Fanfiction Power Hour?
Okay, here's the deal. I was planning on changing the name when I merged with another podcast. It was going to be called My Brother, and Wizzy. But, you know, if you want to record a podcast, we can do that.
Yeah, I guess we'll record a... Well, anyways. Today, everyone, we are reading Be Good to Your Daughters, For They Become Mothers by Posh.
It's a reference to the John Meyer song.
Is it?
Yeah.
Let's hear that song right now, Wizzy.
Okay. Attention. Copyright detected.
Now, I was hoping to hear you sing it. All right. Well... I hope this one's pretty good. Alright, so chapter. So mothers, be good to your daughters, too. There was less food to go around with 3 ponies at the table. Up from 2. You'd think there'd be more conversation to balance things out, but the only ones who did any of the talking were Bright Mac and Bright Mac's wife. Granny had a plate with a tall stack of apple fritter flapjacks slathered in parline. Parline. It's praline.
What is praline?
All I know is that it's in the My Little Pony episode that this one's based off of.
Oh. I didn't know that this was actually based off of something like that.
It's supposed to take place right after the flashback scene, I suppose, in the flashback storyline in Perfect Pair, where we see Applejack's parents for the first and only time ish. And then they die.
Sad.
So anyways.
So I guess it's just like some type of sugar and nuts. It sounds delicious.
Yum yum.
I'm gonna have to make some apple fritter flapjacks now.
Awesome. Granny had a plate with a tall stack of apple fritter flapjacks slathered in praline and topped with a half-melted pat of butter. The stack blocked Pear Butter, seated opposite her at the table from view. but her voice came through loud and clear, as did her conversation with Mac.
"Oh, the bayou's great, Buttercup,"
Mac was telling her.
"I know it don't sound like much."
"It really don't sound like much." Pearbutter's voice had this fluttery quality that made her every word sound like a song. Easy enough to see why Mac fell for her. "I mean, ain't there monsters living round there? Seems like you'd risk bumping into something nasty just stepping outside your door."
"We live smack next to the Everfree Forest,"
Granny muttered to her flapjacks.
"How many monsters you bump into in your life, Pear?"
She bit off a hunk of a flapjack, chewing slowly. Mac was seated to Granny's left, and she could see his expression change as she spoke out. He laughed, and it sounded as nervous as his face looked.
"Yeah, but besides that, the swamp folk keep the place safe. They're tough folk. They gotta be, living where they are. Good customers, too. They go crazy for our apple pies. They'll have the place nice and safe by the time me and my wagon roll up."
There was a pause. Then Pear, sounding a mite anxious, said, "So, you're not gonna get gobbled up by a monster, then?" Mac's laugh was gentler this time.
"Never in a million years, Buttercup. I promise."
"I believe you. Really." The conversation lulled for a moment as she chewed and swallowed some of her breakfast. "I still wish I was coming with."
"I do too, but..."
Pear picked up his thought. "Yeah, I know, but I still wish you didn't have to go alone. Even if I can't come along, why can't, She hesitated. "Why doesn't your ma go with?" Granny's teeth ground together, so hard she swore she chipped a crown. Mac, big talkative palooka that he was, fumbled around for his words before he found an answer to his wife's question.
We used to go together, back when I was a colt and she was showing me the ropes of the business, but that was when we had other folks working the farm. Nowadays, it's just us. So, someone's gotta stay behind, right?"
It was certainly a better answer than, "Granny's joints give out easier than they used to, and she can't stand the trip no more." Not a bad save. Pearbutter replied, "But I'm here, ain't I? I can hold down the fort while y'all are out." It wasn't a good enough save either.
"You know, it ain't polite to be talking about other ponies like they ain't in the room,"
Granny chided.
"Taught you better than that, Bright Macintosh." "Sorry, Ma."
Big Mac, or Black. Damn you, naming scheme. Bright Mac coughed awkwardly.
"You know, I really ought to be heading out. Long road ahead and all that."
"Yeah." Pearbutter's voice sounded weaker. "Sorry you didn't get to finish breakfast." Mac's gaze turned toward his bride. Not a bride anymore. Silly. And he watched her thoughtfully for a silent moment. Then, with a glint in his eye, he said,
"Buttercup?"
He moved in a single motion, too quick for Granny's eye. Bright Mac opened his jaws wide, whipped his tongue out, snatched the entire stack of flapjacks off his plate, and slid them into his mouth like a frog. He chewed, swallowed, and grinned. Pearbutter laughed. "Bright Macintosh, that is just disgusting. No, don't you come here and kiss me. You got pancake mouth, you big..." Her protest didn't stop.
Who doesn't want pancake mouth?
People who are allergic to pancakes.
Oh my god, pear butter. No wonder Granny Smith hates you so much.
No, it's because she's a pear.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I mean, pears are pretty good in my opinion, but I can see why some people don't like them.
They're rivals. They're rival families.
I know. I remember that part at least.
Good. Because I spent like 5 minutes explaining it, I'm pretty sure. Her protest didn't stop Brightback from kissing her, and she didn't try to stop him either. Thankfully, the pancakes on Granny's plate blocked her view. She rolled her eyes anyways. The legs of Pear Butter's chair scraped against the floorboard as she rose from the table. At least let me see you off, okay?
Wasn't dreaming of saying no.
Mac paused by Granny's seat to kiss her on the cheek.
See you in a few days, Ma. Don't get your hiney munched on, boy.
Mac lingered at his mother's side and leaned into her ear, dropping his voice to a whisper.
That's Pear Butter's job.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
No, I was hoping you'd do it.
And don't do too much at once, you hear?
Granny pulled away, glaring at him.
I'll take things real slow, son.
I don't like the way she's saying that.
She sounded like she was saying it angry, glaring at him.
Well, yeah, but... there are different ways to be angry. Rather than sounding like that.
That's the only way that I can sound angry.
Gosh, I hope you never sound angry to me then. The newlyweds trotted past Granny, Pear nudging Mac's flank with her own as they went. You gotta teach me to open my mouth that big someday, you hear?
You sure? It ain't easy to learn. Gonna be years before you master it, too.
Anyways, I got time. No, you don't.
You think you have time?
Time comes for us all. Isn't that right? What's her name from that one fan fiction?
Who?
I don't know.
Oh, that's right. The Only Day. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was referencing, but then you were like, who? And I was like, never mind.
No, I remembered.
And you got the rest of your life to teach me. It's not going to be a long one. Mac chuckled, his voice growing distant.
Guess I do at that.
With the youngers gone, Granny ate alone in the kitchen, stewing and chewing in silence.
Yep. My boy's spending the rest of his life cleaved to the fruit of grandpa's loins. Ain't that a grand notion?
Her teeth scraped together, awkwardly, making her wince.
Think I chipped that crown after all.
Hey, Wizzy, remind you of something?
Shut up, Ross. I didn't chip any teeth.
You did something much, much worse.
I didn't brush.
Yeah, neither have I. She ate alone until Pear Butter returned. Oh, yeah, that's also a reference, by the way, guys, to Wizzy's teeth being fucked up beyond repair.
Excuse
me,
me,
we couldn't record.
I'm getting them
this week.
repaired.
So Wizzy wasn't able to record for so long, and this is one of the few episodes we have since recorded where it's on the same week as the episode comes out.
Not true. It's going to be next week that it comes out, technically.
Okay, yeah, technically, but I'm thinking week
like
as in 7 days and 7 days till.
Yeah. Listen. Kids, don't forget to do your dental hygiene.
Yes. Let Wizzy be a lesson to you.
I'm getting like 4 root canals and I'm only 21.
Yikes. You're 21? You're so old.
Ross, you're a month older than me.
Yeah, I am. So respect your elders, Wizzy.
Shut your mouth.
Don't you talk that way. Don't you talk that way to your elders, son.
I'm the one playing Granny Smith.
Boy, I'm the one playing God in this. That wasn't saying that Pear Butter was God for anyone who didn't understand. That was saying the narrator is God. Anyways, Mac's off on his way, she said as as she took up her seat at the table again. Granny swallowed a bite and grunted a half-hearted response. She'd eaten enough of her flapjacks by then that she could see pear butter at the other end of the table, if she troubled to look up. Not that there was any reason to. She knew what Mac's wife looked like already. "Hey, Granny." "Just wondering." Pear Butter's voice was small and meek. "Think I could grab some caramel syrup for these flapjacks?" "Don't you dare. Praline is much better with flapjacks than caramel syrup, according to Granny Smith, I think."
Did she mean praline by caramel syrup, though? I don't know.
No. Look, I don't know.
She could just mean, like, caramel syrup, but according to what I saw, praline is like a syrup made from caramelized sugar.
It might be, praline is a form of confection containing at a minimum, culinary nuts, usually almonds and hazelnuts and sugar. Cream is common third ingredient.
Yeah, I looked at the American version of that on the Wikipedia page, and it was like, Americanized is like caramelized.
Oh, well,
sugar
this was made in fucking Canada, so.
Ooh! I don't know what
Shit
she's talking about then. Maybe French, I don't know.
Beats me. Anyways, in the show, they have to hide a pear jar of pear jam or whatever, and they don't know their heritage yet. So Apple Bloom brings that home, and Big Mac and Applejack are like, "Hide that shit." And so they break open a floorboard and dig a hole, and the hole is clearly visible to anyone with working eyes, but Granny Smith is thankfully old and blind, pretty much, so she wasn't able to see it. But she was like, "What y'all doing in here?" And they go, "We were just wondering, what goes better with flapjacks? Caramel syrup or praline?" And then she goes, "Psh, praline!" And she knocks away the caramel syrup, but she says praline in kind of a,
okay,
who gives a shit about praline kind of way.
Oh, so it sounds like she's just like, praline? Why would you even think of adding that?
Yeah.
But she was actually choosing that?
Yes.
Okay. There's like moments in cartoons where I feel like they should have done another take and explained how to deliver the line better.
"Don't you dare talk to Tabitha St. Germain like that."
She plays Granny Smith as well.
Yeah. Oh, she
Go
plays
Tabitha.
basically everybody.
Anyway.
Oh, shoot. There it is. "Think I could grab some caramel syrup for these flapjacks?"
Don't got any.
Granny replied, curtly. "We don't." Granny looked up, narrowing her eyes at Pear. The filly'd given a reason to be looked at after all.
We don't.
"Oh." Pear Butter bit her lip. "What about the stuff you dip apples in? When you make them caramel apples, I mean. Like on Nightmare Night? I thought maybe I could try putting that on my flapjacks."
That's for caramel apples, not flapjacks.
Yeah, I'm with the old woman on this one. Granny's hoof found the praline jar, and she gave it a shove, sliding it across the table towards Pear Butter.
We got praline for flapjacks.
Oh my! I just love the sound of saying praline.
Yeah, praline's great. The sound of it, I don't give a shit about what it tastes like.
If I heard about it, I'd assume it's some sort of like chemical mixture used for like, I don't know, varnishing. But it still sounds like Southern, and I love it.
Yeah. The jar skidded to a stop by Pear Butter's plate. The younger mare looked down at it uncertainly. Granny's eye twitched.
There a problem?
Yeah, there's a problem.
Oh, you don't want to talk to Granny Smith like that.
I'm stuck in a house with an old coot, and I was gonna go on an entire rant, but you know what? Let's just continue, I guess.
Bright Mac just comes back and his wife is murdered.
Oh, yikes. Just that, Pear Butter combed a hoof through that bushy mass of curls. Bushy mass of curls she called a mane, blushing, or blushing. I always preferred caramel syrup on my flapjacks.
Well, these are apple fritter flapjacks. Eat 'em with praline or eat 'em dry.
Granny tucked back into her own breakfast, muttering between bites.
Caramel syrup on apple fritter flapjacks. Oh, they're ridiculous.
No, please continue while I read this next one. Despite herself, Granny did glance back up at Pear Butter. She'd gone back to eating, staring listlessly at Bright Mac's empty seat while she dug into her flapjacks. The praline jar was untouched. The strain of the day's work sent Granny to bed early that night after a long soak in the bath to soothe her muscles. Work didn't go away just because she was tired, though, so she rose early the next morning, hoping to get a head start on another day of apple bucking. Sunrise was a dull red smear in the distance when she rolled out of bed, and the light in Mac's room, the room he now shared with his wife, was out. Taking care not to wake her, Granny crept downstairs, fixed herself a bowl of cold oats, and was out the door and into the orchard, under the fading watch of the mare in the moon. Luna! Where she deserves.
Oh my God, Ross.
Yeah?
You can't just say that.
Well, you can't just say, oh my God. It's taking the Lord's name in vain.
You took the lady's name in vain.
Well, guess what? Luna's a fictional character.
Oh, I could say the same thing.
Well, thankfully, you won't, unless you want to get...
I'm going to get canceled so hard.
You deserve it.
Pretty much.
Just as much as I deserve it, like 5 times over.
I'm just going to edit this to be saying that Luna belongs in the kitchen, though.
She does.
It's going to be like, as Granny Smith crept down the stairs into the kitchen, and then it's cut and you say, where she deserves.
Okay. Her body ached, despite the soak and the extra rest, and the pre-dawn chill wasn't helping her creaky joints any. It vexed her something awful. In her girlhood, she could work her legs from dawn to dusk and not feel a thing in the morning, but old age was creeping up on her. And she found herself shuffling more and more of that work onto Bright Mac as the years ran on. Now you know why they got kids. Of course, he was out of town and wouldn't be back for days, meaning she needed to pick up the slack if Sweet Apple Acres was going to keep up with the harvest. Part of her was tempted to roust out Pear Butter and put her to work in the orchard. It was a very, very small part, though, and one Granny wouldn't listen to. Granny didn't mind Pear Butter pitching in with household chores or yard work, but the orchards were the heart and soul of Sweet Apple Acres, and Pear Butter was... A shudder ripped through Granny.
She's Grandpa's daughter. She's Bright Mac's wife and Grandpa's daughter.
Grandpa, played by William Shatner.
Is that true?
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome.
Maybe a day would come when those two notions wouldn't knock up against each other in her brain. But it wasn't going to be that day, and it wasn't going to be anytime soon. Granny ate her words the moment she saw those peach-colored hindquarters sticking out from the canopy of the tallest tree in the apple orchard.
Pear Butter,
Why, dang damn it, I'm gonna fucking... Where's my knife? Pear Butter propped a ladder up against the trunk and climbed to the top to get at the apples on the highest branches. A partially filled bucket rested at its base among the rod. Damn it! I forgot to tell you all to go read this fan fiction. Oh, since we're already like a third of the way through, go down into the description and give it a like, please.
And we're gonna wait here until you do.
Yep. How long would that take? Like 20 seconds if you actually have a fan fiction account?
Yeah.
So for those who don't, we're just gonna wait about, let's wait a minute. You know, I went out driving today.
You did?
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, trying to get that driver's license now.
Nice.
Because my life, let me tell you, I'm going to tell you more about it off mic, but my life is changing.
Oh.
And not for the better. No, it's for the better, technically. But boy, howdy, is it tough.
Oh, I can't wait to hear about this.
Yep. Got about 10 more seconds.
Oh. I'm making pumpkin spice coffee since it's becoming fall.
Oh, excellent, dude. I can't drink coffee because I'm warm. And we're back. At the sound of Granny's voice, though, she climbed back. Oh, right. Roots was the last word. As at the sound of Granny's voice, though, she climbed back down, holding an apple by its stem in her mouth. She spit the apple into the bucket and smiled at Granny. "Mornin'," the filly chirped. Oh, and also, Pear Butter was played by Felicia Day.
Who?
You don't know who Felicia Day is?
No, I'm sorry. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair, I guess. Not as impressive as William Shatner, but still, Felicia Day's pretty good.
So, who's Felicia Day?
Popular actress. She was in Generator Rex.
Oh.
So, yeah.
I guess we stan her in this house.
Indeed. Oh, and Spider-Man, the animated series from, this is what Google says, 2017 to 2003.
What?
It's the way of God.
They went back in time with that series.
Yep. Very ahead of its time. Oh, and fish hooks.
Who's she playing fish hooks?
I have no idea. Oh, and We Bear Bears. Look at that.
Oh, man, I need to hear these characters.
Wow. I guess no one important in fish hooks. So anyways, sorry about that, folks. Just one of our classic tangents that Wizzy gets me on. A stray leaf poked out from between her front teeth. "Sorry if I woke you this morning. I was up pretty early and I couldn't get back to sleep, so I thought I'd get out of here and get a head start picking apples."
Head start?
Granny shook her head, incredulous.
On picking my apples in my orchard.
Uh-oh. Poor Pear Butter. But, Granny Smith is the better character, it's just...
Yeah, she has her flaws, though, which makes her a good character.
Yeah. Yeah? Pear seemed to notice the leaf in her teeth. Then, because her tongue darted out and licked it free. "You don't mind, do you?" Granny remained stock still and silent as she stared witheringly at Pear Butter. "Guess that answers that." Pear shrank back, her smile fading. "I'm sorry, I didn't think it'd be a problem."
Did any pony say you could work the orchard?
"She's part of the family, you dick."
Then why does she have Pear in her name?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah. Her farm's right next door. She could just walk over there and still work.
My name's Pear Butter Apple, but I'm a butter at heart. Butter's where I really like
her usual
to be
name in the, or at least the name that her children knew her as, was actually Buttercup.
Oh. Is Butter short for Buttercup? Or is that just a nickname?
That was just a nickname.
She could be Apple Butter, which is obviously a better dish.
I guess. Pear Butter pawed at the earth bashfully. I mean, Bright Mac and
He ain't here, and it ain't his decision. Besides, so not only are you doing a job you weren't asked to do, you ain't doing it right.
Granny sucked her teeth.
Apples ain't pears. They ain't delicate. You don't pick 'em one by one. You buck the tree and shake 'em loose all at once.
Well, Wizzy's got something to say about that.
It's true. You don't buck the tree, Granny Smith. You're gonna kill the trees. You gotta kill the trees, Granny.
That's not how it works in Equestria, thankfully. Otherwise, they'd kill the tree. Tried that, actually, Pear Butter mumbled. She stepped aside and gestured at the trunk, at a series of shallow half-moon gouges in the bark. I don't really got a knack for it, though. Couldn't get any loose. Mac's always talking about showing me how it's done.
He ain't here,
Granny repeated, testily. No, he ain't. Pear took a deep breath and held it for a moment. But, I'd still like to help out if you'd have me. Not just with the little chores, but the big stuff too, like apple picking. Maybe you could show me how to buck. Granny opened her mouth to respond, but the request had caught her off guard. And she didn't have a response in mind. She stared dumbly at Mac's wife, as a flicker of warmth sputtered to life in the pit of her stomach.
That's how you pronounce stomach?
Yes, that's how I pronounce stomach.
Oh, no, he's becoming French, everyone.
All right, time to come clean. I have French blood in me.
Ew, you ate a French person?
No. Yes, but no. That's not what I mean. I am a descendant of William the Conqueror.
What?
And this is apparently true, because Mormons are great at keeping their history.
Oh, no. Ross, I'm sure that man was a bad person by the name.
Dude, he started the basically legacy of the new freaking royal family in Britain.
That's how you know he's terrible.
Yep. I actually stayed in that line for a while. Until the Duke of something, and then we kind of branched off.
All right, well, you and me are going to have to make beignets at some point then.
Okay, we'll see about that. Stomach. Then golden sunlight crested the horizon, and a thin slat fell onto Pear Butter's cutie mark, at the jar that gave the girl her name. The flicker of warmth guttered out.
I got a whole day's work ahead of me. I can't be holding your hoof while I'm at it. Bright Mac can teach you when he comes home.
Have a lot less work if you taught it properly and fast.
How am I supposed to trust her? She ain't even baptized.
You think that he would have married her if she wasn't? Moron. Anyways, she brushed past Mac's wife to reach the tree and pulled the ladder down. Pear Butter didn't quite. God damn it. I was hoping that with my better pills and this caffeine that I have here, and I was going to be better at reading, but I'm not.
Do those things work together?
Beats me.
I feel like I read somewhere that caffeine does something to ADHD, or maybe it's that people with ADHD get affected differently from caffeine. I think that was it.
Yeah, it might be it. I know that my pills have caffeine in them.
Oh. Huh.
So, Anyways.
Ross, those are Tic Tacs. Those are Coke flavored Tic Tacs.
How'd you know? She brushed past Mac's wife to reach the tree and pulled the ladder down. Pear Butter didn't quit, however. But wouldn't the work go faster if you had extra set of hooves? I mean, just showing me how it's done couldn't set you back that much, could it? Hey, that's what I was saying. But better worded. And I want to help out. I swear, I want to help out. You look so tired when you went to bed last night that... Granny's frigid glare silenced Pear Butter.
You listen here, young filly. I don't need your help. I don't need any pony's help to clear my orchard. Any apple gal worth her salt lick could buck every apple from every tree in this here orchard on her lonesome. And don't you dare say otherwise.
Okay. With that, Granny reared up and cracked the tree trunk hard with both hind hooves. Apples rained from above, piling into the bucket till they spilled over the rim.
That's how it's done.
I don't know why, but that was one of the best descriptions of apple bucking I've ever heard. Granny eased her hind hooves back to the ground, clenching her jaw hard to fight back the pain that ran through her right hip.
Now get. I don't care what you do with today. Just get.
Get on. Go.
Get out of here. Get out of here, you stupid horse.
You stupid, dumb animal. Can't you see I don't want you anymore? And Pear Butter did just that, shouldering the ladder and setting off back to the house without another word. As soon as she was gone, Granny slumped over and rubbed her aching hips.
Yep.
She said to herself in a thin and brittle voice.
You still got it, Smith.
She moved her leg experimentally and felt a creaking sensation in her bones and her joints.
Maybe not for much longer, though.
She died. Granny Smith is dead from apple bucking.
And that's how the universe split apart. Or the multiverse split apart. What if joke? The work that day didn't get any easier. Every tree that Granny bucked gave up its yield with a single blow. That was a point of pride for her, but every kick she landed sent ripples of pain through her joints and up her spine. And deep, deep into her muscles, and every tree bucked wore her down just a little bit more. Before she cleared even a fraction of the orchard, she was spent for the morning, trudging back towards the farmhouse for a lunch break that came hours earlier than it should have. The mouth-watering scent of cinnamon greeted Granny as she stepped into her home. Indeed, her mouth did water, even as her stomach twisted with... I misspoke there. Even as her stomach twisted with irrational annoyance.
I swear to Celestia, Pear Butter.
She made her way into the kitchen and threw open the door, scowling. As expected, she found Pear Butter hunched over that newfangled gas stove, stirring a pot with a wooden spoon.
What are you up to now?
Making food in my house? You can't be eating in my house. Pear stiffened at Granny's voice, spat the spoon onto the countertop, and backed away on unsteady hooves. Sorry for the mess. I thought I'd surprise you with lunch, but you're back earlier than I thought you'd be. Granny's eyes narrowed. Pear was sweating, probably from the heat of the stove, but Granny liked to imagine that her gaze just made the girl that nervous. Granny, your gaze is cold, not hot.
Oh no, her gaze is hot. Sexy.
Oh, Wizzy. Wizzy likes much older women.
Maybe.
Who aren't human, apparently.
Right, Max, Mom has got it going on.
Not that I'm implying you got winded or worn out from working the orchard and had to knock off or nothing.
Shut up, Pear. Oh my god.
She trailed off as Granny pushed past her to inspect the stove. There was a pan beside the pot, its surface coated with a thin brown syrup. No! Shriveled sticks of cinnamon and tiny black clusters that might have been cloves were scattered around the syrup like driftwood. Inside the pot were 4 peeled apples, yellowish spheres bobbing around in gently bubbling water.
For crying out loud!
Granny growled. She poked one of the apples with the tip of a filthy hoof and watched the dirt spread out into the water.
Perfectly good apple, and you went and ruined it. What in tarnation are you even doing here?
They can eat all of the apples. Like the entire apple. I just realized.
They eat the seeds and the core? The stem?
Yeah, horses do that.
Yeah, horses are gross.
Yeah. Fun fact, they're also shown to eat just banana peels instead of the bananas. Or at least Luna does.
Wait, what?
In one episode, Luna just peels a banana, eats the peel, and throws the banana away.
Why?
I don't know, she was tired. Or maybe that's just how they do it.
Oh my god. I love to imagine that as like the type of Luna that was in a Hell of a Time.
Sadly, it's a much different Luna. But, you know, we could say it's both. She'd been muttering to herself, more than to Pear Butter. The girl, knowing no better, answered anyway. I'm poaching them. Poaching the apples. Granny turned and looked flatly at Pear.
You don't poach an apple, girl.
I don't know what that means.
Wait, did she peel the apples and then poach them?
Oh yeah, there were apple peels to the side or something, weren't there?
No, I'm thinking of blanching. No, I was getting poaching and blanching mixed up. My bad.
Either way, I don't know what poaching is.
It's boiling.
That makes sense.
I don't know. What's the difference between just like poaching and boiling? I think of like poaching eggs. Poaching definition.
Food. No, you don't want the other poaching.
Yeah, it'll give me cook an
White
egg without
rhinos
its
are
shell.
dying.
Oh, so I guess because she peeled it, it's poaching.
Ah.
Cook by simmering in a small amount of liquid. Okay.
Well, there you go. There's your fun fact for the day. Fanfiction fun fact. Pear Butter crossed her hooves nervously, rubbing her fetlocks together. Why not? Granny's eyes widened.
Say that again.
Why not? Why don't you poach apples? She was talking back, but she didn't sound all that insolent, more curious than anything else. Is there a reason you don't? Am I doing something wrong here? Tell me if I am. I want to do right by you, Granny.
You don't poach apples.
Granny took a step forward.
I poach apples. You don't poach apples. You bake them, you dry them, you slice them, and put them up into pies.
species.
What was that?
Apples are now a protected species.
You bake them, you dry them, you slice them up, and put them in pies. You mash them up and make apple butter. You dip them in caramel. You do all kinds of things with them, but you don't poach them.
Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
You boil them. That's basically poaching.
Pear Butter looked her squarely in the eye. You aren't saying why not.
But that's... It ain't done, girl!
Just like a man kissing another man.
It's an act against God.
Granny sputtered.
It just ain't done. Generations and generations of apples have cooked apples all kinds of different ways. But they ain't never poached them. And we ain't about to start doing it. That's reason enough, ain't it? That should be reason enough for you, shouldn't it?
Pear Butter glanced, quickly, nervously, between the stove and Granny. I just wanted to do something nice for you. My ma and me used to poach pears this way, so I thought about trying it with apples.
I read that as my man, but it's like M-A''A''N. Like ma'am, but like the male version.
Yeah. I honestly thought it was ma'am. But you know.
My mammy.
My meemaw.
Pears ain't apples.
Oh, that's like a double thing.
Yeah, it so is.
Granny pounded the floorboards hard, making Pear jump back in shock.
And apples ain't pears. You can't treat one like it's the other. You can't make it something it's not. It ain't never gonna be more than what it is. You understand?
Man, these prejudices. I could make so many things here, but I don't want to get too bad. Like the gay thing was one thing. Oof.
Don't look too deep into what I'm saying. I realize that it sounds like I mean two things, but really I'm only talking about what you're doing with fruit, girl.
I understand. Pear was trembling, her eyes dewy, with a wet quaver in that fluttery singer's voice of hers. Granny felt something twist in her gut as she watched the filly shrink away from her. She tried to ignore that rotten feeling. Rotten like
Apples.
an apple. Shove it deep down, and lifted her hoof from the sizable dent she knocked in the floor. Immediately, she cringed at the pain that shot through her whole leg, almost doubling over.
Do you say double? Are you that French?
Oh no, it's infecting my mind.
I was gonna say each time you pronounce something weirdly that's French, you get like a bunch of French haters in the comments.
Oh my gosh, promise? I would love French haters.
It's like the one episode that people pay attention to, and it's only French people for some reason.
Oh, what is this? Fan fiction powder I will.
Oh my god, I didn't know you
suppose
spoke
I
French.
should watch these. For no fucking reason. Dear God, I feel like I am being insulted.
Jesus Christ.
Our Lord and Savior?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
Dang.
She forced herself to stand tall and rested her weight upon it, before turning to leave the kitchen.
Shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have.
I shouldn't have told you that. I should not have told you that. She misjudged her own strength, rested too much on the leg, and fell forward.
This ain't going well.
Faceplant. Behind her, Pear Butter rose. She could hear the shifting on the floor, her hooves clopping against the wood. Granny was about to tell the girl off, thinking she was moving to help her. Instead, she heard metal scrape on metal as she moved the pots and pans from the stove. I can't do anything right for you, Pear Butter mumbled. Stupid of me to try. Granny shut her eyes, thinking about the hole in the floor, and sighed. Is that another reference to the episode? Wowzers.
I'm sorry for snapping. We got a way of doing things, and
I gotta learn that, right? If I'm gonna stay under your roof, be married to your son, I gotta do things your way, don't I? Pear Butter laughed bitterly. But you're not gonna like me anyway, so why does it matter so much? She choked back another snotty laugh. Doing the chores ain't good enough. Cooking, cleaning, trying to pick apples, that ain't good enough. Giving up my family ain't good enough. And I ain't good enough for your family. Nothing I do is good enough. And I'm not good enough anyway. So why does it matter what I do, huh? Huh? Tell her.
Tell her off.
Mm-hmm. Granny heard the pots and pans flung against the floor, the noisy metallic clatter of them striking the wood. She turned and saw Pear Butter alone, among a puddle of syrup and water and half-poached apples. Okay. Theory. Granny Smith, right after Apple Bloom was born, fucking killed both Pear Butter and Bright Mac. And that's how their parents died.
I'm getting rid of the Pear bloodline once and for all.
And she was gonna kill the kids too, but then she had a change of heart. Oh, why am I doing this? She screams out.
And that's why Granny Smith is the worst.
Exactly. Or the best, if you just really don't like the two characters, I guess. But I'm fine with them. I think they're good. I don't have a daddy anymore, she sobbed. Depends on Bright Max Kings.
Oh my God, Ross! He's talking about her dead father, and you're just like...
No, he just left her.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, because she married Bright Mac, and he was like, fuck you, I'm out.
I have no daughter.
That's what he said.
Is it?
I can't remember. But hey, he redeems himself by coming back years after she fucking died and going, oops.
That's all. And then he just like leaves. He comes over and he's like, he has a plan to like talk things through with her, and sees her grave and just goes, oops, and walks away.
Oopsie poopsie. But I thought, after the wedding, maybe I'd have a mother that'd make everything okay, but you're never gonna see it like that. Best I can be is Bright Mac's wife.
Pear.
Granny gathered her legs beneath herself, staying off her still throbbing front limb.
I mean, if it means that much to you, we can always try again with the poached.
Who cares about the stupid apples?
I was gonna say eggs.
I was gonna say elephants. Tears streamed openly down her cheeks. I'm pregnant, Granny Smith.
So
That
am
was
I.
fast, though.
A real woman is pregnant and bucks apples at the same time.
Granny's eyes flew open. The wind sucked out of her lungs.
Oh.
Oh. Shoot. Pear Butter, receiving no response, no spoken response, shriveled back and wept among her rapidly cooling, unfinished lunch. Granny, a little numb, forced herself to move, keeping her affected hoof off the floor, minimizing the pain, though she still felt it throb with every step she took. Every step you take, every pan you break. She reached the stove and twisted the knobs, shutting off the gas. Then she leaned her weight against it, examining the refuse. from Pear's preparations. The coils of apple peels, the soiled measuring cups, the slotted spoon she'd been stirring with. She worked her jaw thoughtfully.
How long have you known?
Pear Butter sniffled. I started thinking I was a couple weeks after the wedding. I didn't know till just the other day. Oh my, oh me.
That's why Mac didn't want you to tag along to the bayou.
Yeah. I mean, he did, but long trips ain't the best for expecting mothers, he said. Well, that's weird. When I was pregnant with him, I used to go on trips dozens of times.
That's why he turned out the way he did.
Granny closed her eyes.
This something y'all were planning for?
We've been trying. About as long as we've been married. It's great that they saved that till marriage. With their good Christian conservative values.
So is she pregnant with Big Mac right now?
Yep.
Yeah.
And if that one theory I heard once is true, and Applejack as well.
They're
But
twins.
I don't think that's true. Granny could all but hear the blush in Pear Butter's voice. And we've been talking about it too, so yeah, we want it. Granny exhaled. She turned away from the stove to look at Pear Butter. The girl was tracing a hoof over her belly. When she realized Granny was staring, she looked up, blinking.
You haven't heard from your pa yet, have you?
Granny said, softly. Pear shook her head. There were droplets of water and syrup in her bushy mane, and the motion flung particles of both in all directions. I write him every day, but he never writes back. Oh my gosh, there is this super sad comic where Grandpa, that's her father, gets a letter from her all the time, and he continues to ignore them. And then he gets a letter of their death.
Oh my
but
God.
I think he ignores that one as well, but he stores all the letters, and eventually he reads them, and he reads that one. I think this is how the comic goes. I haven't read it in years, and it's like a short little thing, like, at tops, like, I don't know, 10 panels. But yeah. And he reads them and figures out that she's dead, and it's so sad.
Jesus Christ. There's
That's who she's with now.
a plot in Fairy Tale, plot point in Fairy Tale that reminds me of that.
Oh, that's
Or
so sad.
that reminds me of. Yeah, Fairy Tale
Well,
gets pretty sad.
Best not spoil that one.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would figure out what I'm talking about by hearing that unless they've already watched it. And even then, they might not.
You should tell me after this,
Oh, yeah.
though. I write to him every day, but he never writes back. And sometimes the letters just come back unopened. I wrote him as soon as I knew I was pregnant, but I don't know if he'll tell. Or if he'll tell what? Wizzy's corrupting my mind, I swear. But I don't know if he'll... Granny pursed her lips and nodded. Then she stepped forward, knelt beside Pear, righted the upturned bucket, and started gathering the apples she spilled.
Your poached pear recipe don't call for flinging the apples on the ground, I imagine.
Well, actually, yes, they do.
Because we just hate apples that much, you see?
Yeah, we just poach the pears and throw apples on the ground. That's what we do with all food, actually. No, I never really considered why. She said. Pear Butter sniffed and giggled wetly.
How wet?
No. I botched that, I think.
Well, lesson learned, I suppose.
She eyed the dent she'd knocked in the floor. The unfinished syrup was oozing into it. That'd take some work to fix.
You know, your pa.
Granny paused in her work, and Pear expectantly listened.
I wasn't always called Granny Smith,
Weren't.
you know. Smith Apple. That's the name I got when I was born. Why?
Because Granny Smith isn't a name.
Yes, it is.
Ish. But, like, fun fact, also might be a reference to this episode, ponies do change their names. Like, Cupcake, who is Mrs. Cake, who used to be Pear Butter's best friend, was, before she was named Cupcake when she got married to Mr. Cake, a.k.a. Carrot Cake. Her name was Chiffon Swirl.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that.
Yeah.
Much better name.
Well, for those French people who don't understand what we're talking about. But for those French people who do understand this, Apple Bloom in the episode when Grand Pear hugs her and makes up with them, Apple Bloom goes, "Oh, can I now call you Grand Pear Pear?" So, for those French people out there, and Canadian French, but you don't count as people. Anyways, or French Canadian. She felt the knot return to her gut.
Your pa, he was the first one to call me Granny. Weren't long after he and his family moved in and started up their own farm. Straight away, he thought it was a right hoot and a holler to call me Granny Smith. Said that
Yeah, it would be weird to name your baby Granny Smith. It's like naming you Old Man McFartface.
Come on, Ross. You know you already do that.
Yeah, but I do it in the same way that Grand Pear does it. Was sourer than a sap apple jam jar full of stale granny piss?
What the heck? There's no way that's from the show.
Granny's peach tea.
What
Granny
the-
Smith looked up aback. He liked to say that a lot to us around the dinner table. Pear Butter blushed and dipped her head. Ma, she'd yell at him for it, and I always thought it was pretty low, too.
your ma always was a decent pony. More'n your pa.
Granny shook her head.
Anyhow, he started calling me that, and soon it was all any pony around town to call me. 'Cept for we had this stick in the mud from out Dodge Junction way, named a Hickory Switch, and she was the one pony he couldn't get to call me that, 'cause she was
A stuck-up old biddy who just hadn't gone gray yet? Pear looked up, smiling shyly. You like to talk about her, too. I like to talk about a lot of people now that I think about it.
He called her that to her face once.
Granny almost added.
She didn't care for it. Don't think they ever got his jaw quite the way it used to be after that.
That was also in her mind. I don't think the Granny almost added bit really told the audience that.
Yeah.
And since we don't add, like, inside head effects to this show.
Moral of the story is, your pa has a funny way of getting on other ponies' bad sides. Never really grew out of it.
Granny coughed to clear her throat.
He ain't the most likable of ponies, and he's stubborn, real stubborn about it. But, I don't gotta tell you that, I guess.
You don't, Pear sighed. But he's my daddy. I love him, even if he don't love me no more. He'll come around after your death, so it doesn't matter to you. Her voice almost broke as she looked into Granny's eyes. And more than anything, I want my foal to know her family. Her whole family. I just don't know if they're going to want to know her back. Granny cracked a smile.
Her family?
Pear Butter blushed. We have a feeling, Brat Mac and I, the first one's gonna be a girl.
First one?
Dumbasses.
Yeah. No, it's actually Applejack, and that rumor was right. That theory.
Whoa. She really was in for the long haul, wasn't she?
Sugar Cube, I won't lie to you.
I fucking hate your guts.
I want you dead. I'm going to murder you tonight. I have a whole plan.
I cannot have more than one pair in this family, and well, now I guess I just can't have one at all, Granny said.
I don't know what's going on in your pa's head. I want to tell you that he'll come around, but us older folk, we get set in our ways. There just ain't no changing our minds sometimes, especially on that whole liberal agenda.
I swear if that young daughter of yours ever, let's say gets in a relationship with another woman, well, I might just have to kill her for it.
Granny Smith is a monster.
Not a monster, just stuck in her own ways.
Yeah, that's what you call someone who kills gay people.
Well, I mean, Wizzy, let's face it, it's not the same as killing...
Ross, no! Oh, I'm so canceling you this time.
That's what I've been telling you to do. Why don't people listen? Pear bit her lip, nodding. What about you? Granny swallowed and looked at Pear, and tried as hard as she could not to see Grandpa's daughter.
Your girl's gonna have a home here. And a family, too.
She reached out to cup Pear Butter's cheek.
Just as sure as you do.
She drunk now? I know what you're trying to do, but...
No, she's constipated, that's what that was.
Pear smiled and leaned into the touch. And that's where she gets her.
By the by, Pear, or Buttercup. That's what my son calls you, right? You mind if I...
Pear... excuse me. Buttercup giggled. Please do not ever... Oh, Jesus, that just sounds weird coming from me. Please do.
Buttercup?
The name brought another smile to Granny's lips, mirroring her daughter-in-law's.
That thing Mac said about expecting mothers and long trips.
Uh-huh.
That's a load of horse apples. I made that same trip when I was full to bursting with him, and I was no worse for wear. Even a rascal Chimera and one. Don't be afraid to call him out on stuff like that, you hear?
Told you she did that. Buttercup laughed. Whatever you say, Gran. She paused and shook her head. Whatever you say, Mom.
No. You can't do that. No. No, yeah, we ain't there yet, sugar.
That flickering little warmth sprung up in Granny's belly again. Yeah, she gonna have one? The word didn't quite sound normal in Buttercup's voice, but she could see herself getting used to it.
And shoot,
she thought, as she mused on the life quickening in Buttercup's womb.
Maybe I ought to thank Grandpa for getting me used to Granny.
Someday, maybe.
Whoa!
The end.
Aw, this one was so nice. I love it.
It was. Good job. Really sweet. I like that whole dynamic and all that.
Totally.
Just 2 thumbs up, my man.
I really love the whole thing with I don't know, just like the whole thing about the story. I love the Granny Smith being old and bitter, and then finally she comes around. It's so sweet.
Yeah.
It's sweeter than apples.
Oh, Sweeter than apples. That's so nice. Anyways, I agree. Loved it. But I can't personally think of anything else to say about it.
Oh,
maybe someday though.
Yeah, I'm gonna be picking apples soon. Not gonna be bucking them. So Granny Smith can bite it.
Ouch.
I don't know why I felt the need to add that, but I just felt the need to point out the trees have no tongue, so I speak for them.
The Wizlax. Lord.
That just sounds like some weird alien race, which I guess was what I wanted my username to sound like.
Yeah. There we go. All right, everybody. We're gonna sign off here. So, if you did just listen to us reading that and got through that awful part where I, called for, the death of all gay people or whatever I did. Thank you, and go down into the description and give this a like. Yeah. And you can find us on Twitter. I am at RossPitShark. He is at Wizzy_Puff. And you can also find us on any podcast app, including Audible now. But yeah, other than that, thank y'all for watching. Don't be mothers, kids. It'll only do bad things for you.
Bye. Guys, I'm recording. Ross has no idea about this. Okay, now time to start working on my Ross Pitt and Wizzy Puff fan fiction.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh no! Ross, I swear to God, it's not what it looks like. It was going to be funny, I swear.
Okay, sure.
The sex scenes were going to involve clown noises.
Good.